Okay, guys, welcome to my channel. And today I want to start the channel with like basic of programming. But before that, I want to share one article that I found really interesting on the internet. So this article is from Rasmussen College. Let me know if you know where it is, and let me know if you know anybody who has been there. But this article is quite interesting, and it's talking about why you should learn coding. And okay, I'll be quick on this one. So the first one is saying how there's a great earning potential, which is true. Like every industry that you go in needs someone who actually knows how to use computers these days. You just cannot have a company without knowing how to use computers. Imagine you run a handicraft, like some homemade stuff, but if you need to sell it, you should know like how to sell it on Amazon, Instagram marketing, and all those things. Like even those things are IT related. So I suggest like you should like learn, like kind of understand like how like IT has infiltrated our daily life, and like everybody, even like 3 years old, knows how to unlock a phone and use an app and stuff. So yep, this it does have a great potential, and here are the numbers. And other industry which has a great potential is the healthcare, I'm pretty sure. So if you're in this industry, I think you are kind of future proofing your career. And it's saying the demand is strong. And the number third, okay, this one is interesting. Coding ability gives you a new perspective to problem solving. Yes. So when people say you gotta code something, people think it's gonna be exactly the same. But just as any other languages, or when you write an article, an essay, it can be very different. It can be very creative. Coding can be creative. Like no two-person can write the same code like at the same time, And how you express yourself in writing can also be translated into coding. And sometimes you can use, if you are like training your mind to like solve problems in coding, you might actually take that perspective into your regular life as well, And here, learning code to okay, this is talking about career flexibility, which is true. Like like if you are in IT, you can sometimes like more than any other industry, like you can actually find a very flexible job. Like during the COVID, like most people who actually were working in the store or any other job, I don't know, where you need to be there, could not be done from home. But if you're in tech, lots of the jobs were saved because of the remote work, and they could have done it through like from your own home, and like the students could take the classes from home. Like I know, like if you're in like customer service through the phone, you don't have to be at the office all the time. You can actually literally do it from home, and that's what it is talking about. And also career flexibility means when you know one thing in programming, you can like literally like move to a different what is that let's go back here. Yeah, if you're in web development, you might know a little bit about database, you might know a little about software. If you're in software development, you can actually transition to networking. It will be much easier for you to learn because they do have almost the same basic understanding of computer. Like 1 plus 1 is 4, and I'm sorry, that's a really bad comparison, but they all have some kind of common background, and then they just move on to focus on a different set of technology. So if you're in software development, if you're in IT, you can like move around. And this one is interesting. Learning to code can be a fun bonding opportunity for your family. So yes, I would definitely do it with my family. Like I know, like I haven't done it, and I don't know if most people do it for fun within the family, but this is one of the fun things that I'm pretty sure there are some people who actually does it. And there's a little story. You can pause it and check it out later. And let me see. Coding can be useful in jobs you might not expect. Exactly. Like let's read what they have to say over here. Okay, this guy, we're able to use Python coding Python to code our advertising algorithm, which also saves us about $1,000 per month. See, you can do lots of things with Python. Python is one of the like top and rising programming languages, and since there are like lots of data these days, Facebook is collecting, Google is collecting, Instagram is collecting every move that you make, and to advertise better, they need to like know who the customers are, like, you know, us who actually browse the website, but then for Instagram and Google, they need to make sure that they understand what we do and why we do it. And that's called big data. And then they have to like make a meaning out of all those clicks, and then they will try to understand us. So that's what it is talking about, you know. And this is exactly what they did in a small scale, though. They made little bit of a advertising algorithm, and like they found out how to save some money and make a more effective algorithm. So putting coding skills to work, yes, you can use it. So actually, without wasting much time, like I don't want to make this video any longer than 30 minutes. So actually, I started this one already, but today we are going to talk about Python basics. And the basics on Python is almost the same on every other programming languages. Almost, I said. So let's go with what they have to say. Like Python, I think if you're new to programming, you should start with Python because it's easy. But some other might say you should start with something difficult, so when you move to Python, it will be easier. But I think whether you learn the other language or Python, I think Python will be more fun actually to teach. And like I actually was more interested in learning Python because it's quite not as it's quite old, I'm pretty sure, but like it has recently gotten more popularity because of like the big data, and everybody is like trying to get into Python. So for the I will not like I'll not share any videos from datacamp. I'm using datacamp user. It's a good course, like, you know, you have to pay monthly, but like if you want to be a data scientist, you can use datacamp. But I will just go with the first course here. So let's actually skip it. So instead of watching the whole 5-minute video here, I will say we'll go to the next one and let's see what it is. I will not be talking much about datacamp. I will be talking more about the Python and the programming language itself. So, well, the basic here is you have an exercise that datacamp wants you to do, and there's going to be an instruction here. This is the script.py. .py is the extension. When you save a file, you use .py. And as you know, like as you can see this one, when we save a photo, it's .jpg, right? And when you save a document, it's going to be .doc. So when you save a Python file, it's going to be .py. So the script can be anything. It can be like my homepage or your name or anything. So don't worry about that. So just remember .py is a Python file, and IPython shell is where the output comes and where you can actually do some execution. So actually, let me go with the instruction. And it says experiment in IPython shell, which is the shell here where things are executed. It is telling us to like type 5 divided by 8, 5 divided by 8, and let's see what happens here. It gives out the answer. So kind of telling us how we can use the shell. We can do some small calculation over here, so you don't need to like open up your calculator app to do little small tiny calculations, you know. It's not about like knowing the numbers, it's about knowing the concepts. So this is what it is. I should not know what is 5 divided by 8, but I should know how to do it. That's what it is. On the second one, it says add another line of code to the Python script up there on the top right, not in the shell. Print 7 plus 5. Okay, let's print right here. The good thing is that they are giving us some hint over here. So let's type print 7 plus, what is that? 10, right? And let's run it. And it gives out the okay, this is what it is shown here. This is not how like the regular Python works, but this is just telling us what are in the file, and then this is the answer. Like this is here, and 7 plus 10 is 17 right here. So just these two are the output, not this ones. In normal, when you do your own programming, you will not see this. You will only see two answers because we're not printing anything but just 2 lines, right? And it wants us to submit the answer. Okay, let's submit it. So that's how you do it. Easy, right? Let's see when to use Python. Python is a pretty versatile language, and it's asking for which application can you use Python. I want to make some quick calculation, which we did earlier. Yes, you can do that. For a new business, you want to develop a database-driven website. Yes, you can do that too, because Python is actually really powerful language for database. I'm sure Facebook, Instagram, they have lots of data these days, and they need Python. They use for like in some way, Your boss wants you to analyze, where's that? Your boss asks you to clean and analyze the result of the latest satisfaction survey. You can do that too. Yeah, we will learn more about this later, but yes, you can do that too. When you have a lot of, a table of data like Excel, you can actually do more here than in Excel. So yeah, the answer is above all, and let's submit it. Yes, that's it. And let me see any comments. This one is talking about how to do comments in Python, and these are comments. And what is comment is, it's like a note to yourself, or if you're working with other like coders, or if you're doing a group project, you might want to do this. This is some kind of basic that you should do, because right now we only have 3 lines, and most codes have over 100 lines, and Facebook and Instagram, they might have like millions of lines, and like when you have to find where things went wrong, it's going to be very difficult. So that's why like you write comments so a regular human can understand. So I can literally like division, blah blah, whatever I want to write, but something meaningful so that the next person can understand, or you can understand later on. So how the programming works. It goes from top to bottom, from left to right. So the code is Python is going to read it from the top, and it says this, and it is going to tell the compiler, ignore everything after hashtag, and everything after hashtag is ignored. And it goes to after n, and it says nothing. So it's going to go to the next line, and it says print, and then it's going to see the whole thing, and it's going to print the whole thing. In the end of the line, it's going to go down, nothing here. But what does it want? It wants us to add a comment. And when you want to write a comment, you can write. You have to write with a pound sign. Is that a pound sign? I think so. Or hashtag ADDITIO and addition, right? That's what it wants us to do. And let's run it. You see, these are the answers, but you don't see the comments down there. You don't see the comments. We kind of added comments here and above 17, but you don't see it. And that's how you do a comment in Python. Let me actually reset it. I'm sorry, like I did it before and I tried to reset it, but everything comes back after I started over again. So Python can also be a calculator, like how we did 4 plus 10, 14. This is a minor calculation, but when you have to do a big one, like, you could also do multiple calculation like that. So you can run it over and over again instead of like doing it every single time down here. So here, most mathematical notations are about the same, but some are changed. So exponential, that's the power. And in Python, you write it with double star. And that's how you write a power. So if you want to write 4 to the power 2, you do 4 double star and 2. That gives you 16. And modular is the remainder, right? So when you need to see if it's odd or even, you can use kind of modulo to like find if it's odd or even. There are many other ways to like use this, but that's a simple one. Like for example, it says 8 module 7 is 4. That's the answer. when you need to find the remainder, it gives the remainder out. So this one is saying, suppose you have $100 which you can invest with 10% return each year. After 1 year, 100, it's 100 times 1.1. That is $110. And after 2 years, you get 10% every year. This is, they're trying to do a compound interest here, and add code to calculate how much money you can end up after 7 years and print the result, right? So, okay, so let's do this. Print, right? Everything has to be within print, just like you can understand from up here. They are doing multiplication. This is division. This is remainder, and this is the power. So actually, let's see what we get here. 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 minus 5 is 0, and all the spaces are ignored. So you don't the more you add space here, it doesn't really affect any programming. So, but they are separating this, so it is easy to read for a human. And all these numbers are down here. But let's solve this one. How much is $100 worth after 7 years? And we have gotten the rate is 1.1, right? So you do 100, right, and times 1.1. So it says if it is for the first year, it's going to be 100 times 1. For 2 years, it's going to be 100 times 1.1 times 1.1. And so you could literally do 1.17 times. If first year is 1, second year is 2, then 7 years is 7. But it was just telling us how to use the power here. So let's use that, and I think that's what they want. Let's use the power 7. Let's run it. Here you go. That's the answer. And you, after 7 years with the 10% return compounding, you will almost get 100% return. That's 94%, 95. You could say 95, I guess. So that's how you do it. And let's move to the next one. Variable and types. Well, what is a variable? Variables are the placeholders, right? So say you have done it in math. If you haven't, don't worry. Variables are something like when a website asks you for name, date of birth, email address, those are all saved in variables. So they can do some kind of computation later. And types are variables. All the variables have some certain kind of type. So if you're adding your name, that becomes a string or a text. And that's the text variable, right? Text type. And if someone asks you how old are you, you say 17. That is a number. And there are a couple of different types of numbers as well, which you will see throughout the exercise. Let me reset this, and let's say variable assignment, and they ask us to use equals. So it says create a variable savings. So variables can be anything, right? Savings. Try to make it something that you can understand later on as well, or other people can understand. Coding is for you to look back later on, and you just don't want to have AS or TS or LS, they will work, but it'll be difficult when you revisit your code later. So say savings equals to, what does it want? Saving equals to 100, right? That's what they want here. So if you want to add assignment, this is how you do it. 1 equals, so 100 becomes, the value of savings becomes 100, and print out savings. So imagine that's what happens. Print savings savings. So what will print? What will print is 100 becomes, the value of savings become 100. In the next line, it wants us to print savings. And let's see if you're right. Okay, there's some error in number 1. What is the problem here? What is the problem here? There should not be any problem. Let me actually reset this. Okay. Let me run this, and if I still get it, nope. Okay. Sometimes computers are not perfect. That's why we need people like you to like fix these little issues. This is called debugging, and sometimes resetting a computer that fixes lots of issues, right? And savings, right? Print savings, and let's run it. There you go. We just printed savings, and savings becomes 100. So that's how you print a variable. So this 100 went inside the savings. Yeah, so this 100 went inside saving, and we are passing saving down here. And when we print savings, it prints 100. So imagine like we put 1000, and you know it's gonna become 1000 because everything is gonna go inside the savings, and savings is what we're printing. So I think this is how we do it. Let's submit it. Got it right. Okay, reset, right? Calculations with variable. Now we are gonna do some calculation. Okay, it says we're gonna go one by one. Okay, let's create a variable called growth, growth multiplier, right? Multiplier equals to, and it wants us to have the 1.1. We're actually working with the same value as before, and it wants us to create a result, and the result should be amount of money saved after 7 years. Result equals to this time, instead of putting the 100 and 1.1 to the power 7, we are actually going to replace them with the variable. So let's savings times, right, growth multiplier, and remember we used a power with 2 stars, and let's do 7. And now let's print, what should we print? Result, right? As you enter results. So what happens here, all these values are coming from the top, and these are gonna go inside result, and we're printing result down here. So that's how you use a variable. You see how next time the savings goes up by 1000, you don't have to change anything, but you just change the value at savings. That's how it makes a cleaner code. And same answer, 194. Let's submit it. That's how it is done. And it's saying other variable. Yes, like we talked earlier, there are many type of variables, right? So we know there are numbers without a fraction or without decimals. So like the saving goes to 100 was an example. So imagine you wanna count the number of people in a room. That will be like an int. Int stands for integer, and integer is a number without a fractional part or without any decimal. And then if you have to use a number with decimal, you use a float. So float will be something like 4.5, you know, because sometimes you do need those decimal points. So if you don't need it, use int. If you need decimal, you use float. So from our example, saving was 100, that we could use int, but then 1.1 was a growth multiplier. So 0.1 we need to use float. And then there are another one which is called string. String are all the text that you type which doesn't need to be calculated or computed, you know. So we just use, like, if you want to insert a name or address, which you actually just display, right? You don't calculate like how many, you don't display Sam times Sam. You could do it, but like it's kind of useless. But you do add 5 plus 4. You have to do those, and the answer should be 9. Yeah. So another one is a boolean, and booleans represent two logics, right? They can only be true or false. So imagine, like, when do we use boolean? Booleans are used when you give a program some kind of conditions, and say on a website, when you fill up all the forms and you say next, sometimes the page goes to next, sometimes it doesn't. And that's when they use the boolean expression, and the website coder would write something like, okay, did the person fill up all the forms? If yes, go to the next. If not, tell the person to like fill up the date of birth because he forgot to do it. So that's when you use Boolean. And this looks little things, but like, you know, all these big websites are made out of all these little things. So let's go with the program here, and it says create a new string, DSC string. So string means text, right? str with a variable compound interest. So let's do that. It's literally telling us here s is saying DESC variable dis equals to interest. So why are we using this? Remember we said savings equals to 100, but when it's a number, you don't have to write this double quotes. But when it's a string, you have to have a double quote, so computer can understand like whatever is coming inside is a string, and they are not computable, they are not calculatable, you know. So you need double quotes. Everything is that double quote for a string, and when it comes to numbers, you don't need quotes. So remember that. For string, code, numbers, no quotes. And if you put quotes on number, that becomes a string, so you cannot add or divide or do any kind of calculation on that. So never put a number on code, okay? If you have to like code later, you could definitely put date of birth if you don't have to like calculate, but sometimes people use date of birth as string. That can also be text if you need to calculate how old the person is. But most of the time, like, just remember anything that's string and you don't have to compute later, make them a string. And what they say, create a new Boolean profitable with the value true. So let's create another profitable equals to true. So that's how you write it. You start with a capital T, and sometimes you can kind of tell with the color coding as well. Most like those kind of like IDEs or compiler gives some kind of addition to like additional features where they are color coded, so you can kind of tell, okay, this looks right. So you see like variables are in white, comments are in green, strings are in pink. Let's see how the number looks. I forgot. Let's say just make a random 14, right? Okay, 12. Okay, so even int or float will be pink, so you know these are working right. And let's see, let's try to say TRUE. Look at this, the color is not right, so you kind of know that, okay, I might have done something wrong. Sometimes people might write true, looks about the same, but it doesn't work. It has to be the capital T, and when the color changes, you know, variable are white and everything else is colorful. So let's run the code, and since we don't really see any output here, right? Because we haven't printed anything, that's why. Okay, we're only assigning the value here, but you need to print to see. I mean, if you say DSC, let's see what it shows. Yep, see, we created one, DSC equals to compound interest, but then here we type it on the Python shell and it does show the value, but to show it in the real output, it doesn't show here because we haven't like really asked it to like print it. We only assigned it. Let's submit it for now. Okay, so it says there's another thing called type. So we remember integer, float. What else was there? Integer, float, string, and Boolean. 4 types, right? So this one's saying they have created 4 different variable ABC, and they want us to see like which one is the true one, and they want us to use a type function. This is a built-in, thanks to Python, right? You don't have to like write a code to find what kind of variable it is, like what kind of type of variable it is, you know. So you just write type, and to check which type A, right? This is a IPython shell, it's not the Py script, right? Okay, so they created it already, that's why we can kind of just type A. But if you want to see like what is A, you can just type A. Oh, sorry, and that didn't work. Okay, let's do print a, where we are kind of using the same thing as printing the variable. This is also a variable. So okay, actually it did count earlier. I think there was some kind of delay. So here, that's a number, so that's a float. This one is float, so a is float. Let's click this one for now. A is float. Let's type we can literally type b. Should do the calculation. B is true, or you could, they want us to use the type b, right? Type b. B is string. Even though it's true, it is a string. True should be a boolean, but it is not, because it's inside the string double quotes, right? It could be double quote or single quote. Okay, let's actually see C, right? False. See how you could get confused because it says true, but it's a string. B is a string. Type C, and let's print this one. See, B is true because it's a string, but true should be boolean, but it is not because it's inside the quote, remember? And C is false, and the type is bool, and you see false but no quotation, that's why it's a boolean. So it should be this. It's B is string. They're trying to confuse us, but we will not be confused, right? So, and what does it want? Hugo mentioned, okay, calculate the product of savings, growth multiplier, and store in year one. So here it wants us to do year one, and it wants us to do the product, right? Okay, growth multiplier times savings. That's how it works. That's what product means multiplication. That's what we did here, and all these values are coming from top there. And print the type of year one, and it wants us to see what kind of variable type it is. So you say type year one. Will it work? It will work down here. It will work down here, like, but in when you write a code, you have to always tell it to print. So you say print, and it has to be inside print. So everything from here and here are inside the print function, and year is within type. So it's going to print here float. Assign sum of this and this, right? What is this? Now we know this is a variable, and it wants us to add this and this to double this. So let's actually do a little doubl double desc. This equals to desc plus sc. So you might be saying, bro, you kind of told me like we cannot do calculation on string. DSC is a string, right? But actually it does work, but it is kind of meaningless unless you actually have actually you actually really need to do it. But let's see what it prints. It should print this is compound interest plus compound interest. This is a new concept here, and it's gonna print. Okay, it's not gonna print now, sorry, because I haven't printed it. We only assigned it, right? So let's do print, and let's do the same thing as before. doubl double this, and actually let's run it now. So you see how we printed two things here, 1 and 2. The first one, we want to print the type of variable year one, and that is a class float. And second, we did double this, and it's a variable this plus this. So you see how compound interest plus compound interest, that's how it works. So you see it's kind of meaningless, but then if you have to do, sometimes you can use it, but not at this context, but you will find other uses later on. But this is just showing like how two strings can be added. Let's type multiplication. Let's see what happens. That's an error. See, you cannot multiply, you can only add. And this is not adding, this is like just it's called concatenation. So you're literally saying after this, print another this. So this is literally not calculation. It's just like doing addition, adding after one string after another. So let's submit this. And what is this here? Let's reset it. And it says type conversion. There are many ways to convert a type. And str is there. There's an int, float. We already know how these things work. So in most programming, but especially in Python, like you can only print something of the same type of variables. So let's look at this. Saving goes to 100, results equals to, it's gonna be that one, and print fix a printout. So they want us to fix this. So it says I started with $ plus saving. Remember, we added string plus string, this plus this. It's the same thing, but what happens here is this is a string and you are adding another string, but you cannot add a string to a number, right? Because this is 100. So what they want us to do is to use type conversion. So to convert this, we have to use this string. So what it does is str, right? Str. What it does is it's gonna convert whatever the value of saving is into a string. Now this is a string plus string. You can do that like just like this plus this plus another string, right? Because it's in plus another string here. Result is a float, right? That's what we got, 194 something. So we also need to do the same thing, str, and put everything in result into the str and plus another string. So everything is string. So this should work. And here it is. I started with $100 and now I have 194 something dot awesome. So that's how you use a number and print out and like use like different kind of data type, right? You brought a integer and changed into string. You brought a float and changed into a string. So that's how you make a meaning out of all these numbers. This is how you make a meaning. Like, when you go to a banking app, it says, oh, Tash, Tash or Sam, you have this much money in your bank, all those things. That's how it works. Now let's see this one. It says definition of pi string, right? Pi string, the value of pi. Pi is quite a popular value and it's 3.1415. That's how most people remember, but this is a string. But pi, we need it in a float because we do lots of calculation with pi, and like to do calculation we need to make it into a float. So it wants us to convert the pi string, convert this string, pi string, into a float so we can do some calculation. So actually let me see, let's do print, right? I'm pretty sure that we're gonna get a error. Let's see, pi string times 2. What do you think we'll get? This is a string. Maybe we'll get this number twice, right? Or maybe not. Let's see what happened. So we actually got this same number twice. We got 3.14157 and another 3.1, but that's not what we want. We want it to like calculate the area of circle. We need to calculate the volume of a sphere and all those things. So you see how this is kind of not useful when it's a string. So to make it a string, we need to make pi float, or it can be anything, but for now we need to make it a pi float. And how do we do that? We just need to write float float pi string. So what this is doing is whatever is coming here, which is 3.1415, and transforming into a float, and then putting that float value into pi float. And now if you print pi float times 2, we should get actually a double of this number, 6 point something. There you go. Now it makes more sense because you can actually use this number to actually calculate something, or area of circle or whatever. So that's how you do it. and let's go submit it. That worked out. And can Python handle everything? Okay, this is interesting. And it wants us to see which one of these are possibly the wrong answer, right? So can we do this? I can add integer like plus to string plus another string. Will it work? Yeah, I think so, right? It should work, right? Because everything seems to be, let me put it into this one, inside the print, and it says, you see like how this is a string and then this is an integer, but they change into string. So string, all good. And we also check string plus in a bracket string times 2. So it's gonna type hey. I said hey 2 times plus hey. This is also inside the quotation mark, right? So this will work. And this one, it says the correct answer to the multiple choice exercise is answer number, and it says plus 2. So this one, see how this is a string plus integer, so this will not work. True plus false. What is true plus false? We can check it out, right? We have nothing to lose. True plus false. It's 1. Okay. So how this is the wrong answer and the right answer for this, because you cannot concatenate a string and an integer. So we are done with this, and in the next class we'll talk about Python lists, and that will be the second class. And I hope you learned something new and something interesting. I know like this video is long, but there's so much to cover, and if you actually follow the channel, I'm pretty sure that you and I will both be an expert at Python, and we'll go slowly, and we'll try to like make it more easier to understand and easier to learn as well. So thank you for being here, and see you again soon. Bye bye.